Hey, this is Judah Ross with Bastrop Real Estate Group. Real excited about this interview that I about to present to you. Is with Sylvia Carrillo, the City Manager for the City of Bastrop. She has been very gracious with her time. I found her to always be very generous with her time with any citizens of Bastrop who are looking to learn more, to get involved. And I'd been looking forward to sitting down with her and having this conversation for a while. Just discussing the state of Bastrop, future of Bastrop, issues like development, how to get involved. It's just a community that I know Sylvia loves, I love very much, and I want to share some of this information with all of the people out there. So hope you enjoy it. If there's anyone else you'd love to see an interview with, or if there's questions that you'd like to learn more about, just please comment, shoot me a message, and hope to have more interviews like this in the future. So enjoy. Well, thank you so much, Sylvia, for agreeing to do this and give me some time to talk about my favorite subject, which is Bastrop. I've got lots of good questions I'm really interested in, and I want to make this educational for people of Bastrop who are interested in learning, either people who live here and want to learn more about how our local government works, what the plans are. We have people really, as you know now, all over the world that are focused on our beautiful little community. So I think it's a great opportunity to discuss some of what's going on. And I think to start out, a lot of people would like to know, one, what is the role of the city manager? Like, I know, each different cities, different states have different ways of running municipal governments, but how does it work in Bastrop? What is your role? And maybe expand upon that, how it works with mayor and city council.
Got it. So Texas has, in our Constitution, we have a couple different types of government. We have a general law type A, general law type B, and then we have home rule municipalities. So Bastrop has a home rule municipality. We are a home rule municipality. We're over 10,000 people. We have a city charter. Voters voted to become that. So essentially that means so long as the Texas Constitution does not prohibit it, we can do it.
Okay.
Which gives us a lot of latitude. Whereas the general law cities, those powers have to be specifically granted in the Constitution. Very much like the county. The county's rules are specifically, or rules of the road are specifically situated. Some cities have a strong mayor form of government that's normally reserved for general law or smaller cities. And that means that the mayor is the chief executive officer. And those types of cities, Houston is a strong mayor type of government. Those types of cities, every time a new mayor comes in, you end up changing the cabinet, which is the department heads, et cetera, et cetera. And the line to the victor go the spoils. That's pretty much it. Bastrop has a council manager form of government where essentially the manager is hired by the council, and we act as the chief administrative officer and have our main thing is the budget, but then everything that goes along with that on the operations of the city. The council still has super fiduciary responsibility, meaning the council could vote tomorrow to cut a budget to zero in a department, and that department essentially goes away. And so council has the levers and switches to still make that work. But the separation between the staff and the council under a council manager form of government is I'm the only one they manage, myself, the municipal court, judge, and the attorney. We're really the only three staff members that they manage. All of the other staff fall under me, and so the council is prohibited from giving direction to the staff. It's actually a breach of contract.
Okay.
So that kind of keeps the checks and balances, and council stays in the policy lane and I stay in the operations lane. So they tell me what to do, I figure out how to execute it, and I make it happen all within the budget that they give me.
Gotcha.
Is the bottom line.
Sometimes a challenge, I'm sure.
All the time a challenge.
Yeah.
All the time a challenge.
So we're talking about the government and the budget. Where are we right now in terms of the number of employees and the size of our budget?
We're hitting close to 200 employees.
Wow.
And our budget is still less than 20 million, but it looks a lot more in the budget book because we've borrowed large amounts of money And unlike your personal budget, when you borrow money, it doesn't look like income on your tax statement, whereas it does for us. And so for a couple of years, it looked like we had, $100 million budgets because we had some major borrows for some major projects. We've not gone out. The last borrow we did was about $35 million, I believe, and that was to finish the water wells and some other projects that were already outstanding. We've not really borrowed anything since I've been here other than the initial, I believe it was 1.8 to get the street program going that now the street tax will take care of. So I've been trying to burn what we have and not and be smart about when we borrow, because it's all about timing and taxes and payments. And I keep saying I'm trying not to bankrupt the city. That's my main goal.
Much appreciated, for sure.
And keep the tax rate steady.
Yeah.
Right, keep the tax rate steady.
Where are we looking at in terms of, and I want to talk about growth in terms of population, but in terms of budget, size of government, where do you expect that to be in the next 5-10 years to keep up with the growth of the population?
So the main push and pull is always fire and police.
Okay.
As we begin to spread. The other next pool that folks are talking about is recreation.
Yes.
And so how do we make those puzzle pieces all fit? And it's all very doable. You just have to be smart with your development rules.
Right.
We just passed the park development fee, which adds a $25, I believe they kept it at $25, a fee for every new home that comes in, and we get to put in new swing sets. We get to expand and repair things that are, so long as we expand it, right? We can fix the slide, but I've also got to add another piece of equipment.
Similar with the transportation impact fee, it needs to be for the additional use that developer's bringing in.
And then that's called the park enrichment fee. And then we clarified our park, the exaction fee that we charge for parks. And so we want to make sure, in line with the Parks Master Plan, that we're not getting floodplain, that we're getting good usable land that's not tucked away behind in a subdivision, so it feels like the neighbors have exclusive use of that land, right? Because they're completely city parks. And doing our best to connect things, to make sure the community isn't isolated in one way or the other. So State Park to Fisherman's to 304, 304 back to Bear Hunter across to 20, and
So I'm super excited about that. I've dream of having walk and bike paths connecting everything. My ultimate dream would be if we could have Fisherman's going all the way to the Tahitian trails through the movie studio. I saw an announcement about I think from 969 maybe, a walk and bike path. What do we have going on there?
Pearl River, which is now called Sendero, there's been a lot of talk about how do we connect Bastrop proper, which is our downtown historic area, how do we connect that with the rest of the world? And so TxDOT, we used to call them hike and bike trail grants because they're 10-foot wide sidewalks that allow a biker and a pedestrian safely.
Right.
How do we connect those to the downtown? So we applied for a grant that connects, widens what's on Old Austin Highway, essentially, from the downtown. As the bridge gets revamped.
Nice. Okay.
The bridge, so the bridge is out for bid right now. Okay. So we're hoping to break ground on the bridge before May.
What are we anticipating the cost to be for that?
About 15 to 18 million.
Yeah. I feel like just over the past few years, I heard it go from 5 to 10 to 15.
But they borrowed an initial 3 to be a match for grants. So it'll connect Old Austin Highway. It'll go up along the schools.
Okay.
And then it'll make the turn at Reed Ranch, essentially, which is the new complex.
Right.
It'll connect behind that school to Blakey.
Very nice.
And so as we extend Blakey, that will have a wider sidewalk. As Blakey makes the turn to Reed Ranch, it'll have a wider sidewalk. And so we'll begin to connect east-west to the north. And then at the bottom, as we're connecting parks, as the new subdivisions are coming in, there's a connection trail. So that eventually, we'll have a loop that you'll be able to safely walk without playing Frogger on 95.
Yes. Are we going to plant trees along those too? Okay.
Yes.
Because I know sometimes I feel like there's well-intentioned plans to put sidewalks in, and then summer comes and it's not very usable.
So we also just, the tree mitigation fees and the penalty for removing trees, that also got approved this second reading last week, I believe. All the days run together now. And so when people take out trees, there's a penalty to pay, and we're able to use some of that penalty to offset trees in other areas.
Gotcha.
And so we're going to do the same with sidewalks, because right now you're required to put in a sidewalk, and sometimes that sidewalk doesn't make sense where it's going.
Right.
But we may have a need somewhere else that would connect a sidewalk and would continue to create this trail that we're talking about. So.
Okay. Any other park plans, solid plans we have right now for addition? I know Bob Bryant's being revamped. That's my neighborhood. I'm really excited. But
yeah, so that park
else in the mix?
enrichment fee will really help us
Okay.
reprogram and repurpose some of our parks. We really have to take a look at the splash pad that's in
Yes.
Fisherman's and figure out how to recirculate that if it's feasible.
Okay.
Right now, that cost is coming in at $1 million, $1.5 million.
Recirculate mean to reuse the water?
Because right now it just
It's
goes.
just runoff? Oh,
Right now it just goes.
What a
I'm
waste.
losing
Okay.
1 million gallons every month in the summer, and it's
yeah.
that's just not
Wow.
not just water that's
Yeah.
being down the drain. I also have to treat that water into the sewer
Right.
system, so that's less service I'm able to provide.
Wow.
And so, we're having the thought about, okay, maybe we leave that one and we make that one like the toddler
Sure.
area.
Put one
and,
in by Bob Bryant.
no, because that's in a floodplain.
Fair enough.
But maybe we leave that for the smaller kids and
Yeah.
only open it 3 days a week or have
Right.
limited hours so the waste isn't so bad. And then put that $1 million or $1.5 million into a nicer splash
Right.
pad. Or we also have a couple of developments coming where I know that developers are going to say, well, we can put in the park cheaper because
Right.
they can, some of the larger developers. And so is there an opportunity for us to partner and end up with a splash pad in a new public area?
Gotcha. Any chance for a full aquatic center, like a pool for the city right now?
Everybody asks me for that.
much
I think the
requested.
best I'm going to be able to do right now is a better partnership with the state park.
Okay.
Hopefully, we're on the hunt for a qualified hotel project. We have some new legislation that was filed. I'm hopeful. And the plan would be to turn our current convention center into a civic recreation space.
Ooh. That would be very exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
So many cool things happening.
Yeah, the
right
grounds
now.
are beautiful for that,
Yeah,
and it's
it would be
located
perfect, yeah.
in probably the best spot that we could
Absolutely.
ask for that. And hopefully, if I have my druthers, it'll be paid before we hand it over to the general fund. So then we're just,
Just operation at that point. Okay. Amazing.
yeah, folks are asking for indoor basketball, and and that's a wonderful space, and it
Yeah.
has partition ability to be.
Yeah,
amazing.
you could put basketball. Wow, that would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, Smithville and Elgin have it. It's like we got at least.
Well, but
at
they
least
use
have
federal
something.
funds for that.
Is that
right?
what they
There
did
yeah,
after the-
and we built the thing at Mayfest Park in partnership with the county.
Okay.
And the senior center also got built with.
Gotcha.
federal
Gotcha.
dollars.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be amazing using the convention center.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Okay, we talked about some developments like hotels. So the big ones coming in that people see have broken ground: Val Verde, Pearl River, which you said is called what now?
Sendero.
What else is on the horizon that you can talk about?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you see Valverde, but the front part of Valverde is a townhome kind of subdivision in the
Right.
front. That's 250 townhome units in the front.
Okay. It's going to be similar to how the Colony has the rentals up front? Okay.
And so at the rear is 1,460 units
Right.
of single family residential, and then that makes the turn, and we connect. You'll now see 20 in that road, so we make that connection turn. And then south to that, Addleton is expanding. Their school should be open latter part of this year.
Yeah,
and
that
they'll
was
start
really
taking
quick.
kids,
Amazing.
and they'll start going. Yep. We have a development on 304, which is a little bit north of Shiloh, that's coming in that they'll annex into the city.
Okay.
And that's one of the main parks is coming in. So
Very nice.
last night at Planning Commission, there was a planned development district at Agnes and Orchard. So next to Southside Barbecue where Orchard is,
Right.
you see the ground break happening right there. That's office space in
Okay.
the front. At the back of that will be a senior living facility. And then right on the other side of Orchard, at the top is commercial, and then it's multifamily apartments, duplexes, and then behind that is a for rent community, a single family duplex, townhome, single family
Okay.
home. It'll be a rental community.
Built to rent.
Yes, built to rent at the far end of that. Both of those have park connections, and so that begins.
nice.
Yeah, you begin to see the 304, the Agnes corridor with park trails connecting. We moved to Hunter's Crossing, trying to get that connection,
Right.
and then eventually over to 20. There's some potential development at that corner of 20 and 71.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that was for sale right now. Okay. Any other developments, commercial or residential?
So on the, we have 2 additional hotels coming. There's one behind the CVS, and there's another one in the Agnes corridor.
Is this CVS by Tahitian?
CVS.
Where am I?
No,
thinking of?
CVS.
Over. Okay. Right.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, kind of.
On 7.
Kind
Okay.
of near
Yeah.
Tahitian.
Gotcha.
And then we still have Reed Ranch, and then we also have Burleson East, who's breaking ground already.
Right.
So the
Okay.
Sprout-
Yeah, I saw some
the
movement
Sprouts
going
is
on
in
there.
for permit.
Very nice.
Sprouts, PetSmart, Longhorn, a dental office, and some other things will make up phase 1.
Okay.
And then phase 2 has some larger
Ooh,
stores.
even more exciting. Okay, cool. And Chipotle's almost
Chipotle's
finished?
on the other side, yes,
Okay.
right in front of
They
Lowe's.
look like they're almost finished the build out.
Yep.
Do we know, or can you talk about what is it? Just going to be Chipotle, or be a few other stores there?
There's a few other stores.
Okay.
I'm not sure what those are.
Okay.
Blakey is at 100% design, so we
Very
are
nice.
negotiating the final right-of-way acquisition with the property owner, but council moved $6 million for Blakey.
Okay.
And that ends up connecting 969, widening Blakey with that sidewalk that we
Right.
talked about. And then once Blakey is open, the northern part of Burleson East is what that northern part will finish. Those stores need access at the rear.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then Sendeto's got Chewy's and another steakhouse. I think it's Outback. I don't know. It's another
Okay.
steakhouse.
Can never have enough.
Yeah, and it's essentially Restaurant Row in that front
Amazing.
section. They've got some health and wellness stuff in a segment and some hotels in that segment. So
Okay.
yeah, and the apartments at Blakey will extend all the way to McCoy's, to the Hobby Lobby. Essentially, they all
Oh wow.
back
Okay.
there. Yeah.
They're gonna. This is like phase 1 they're doing now, right? Okay.
That's Wood Partners doing that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've toured the apartments and I've heard really good things about it. I know there was like a big need for multifamily here, especially with all the employees, coming in. SpaceX we'll get to in a little bit, but it's really nice to see, that people have places to rent now.
Yeah.
And places to
It's
buy.
a tough market. I mean,
Yeah.
when I moved here, it was, pretty much sight unseen.
Yeah.
I had to just say, okay, I trust you.
Yeah. What do you find? So I'm in real estate,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I have my own insight. But what do you find is really drawing people here right now to Bastrop?
We have a lot of folks. If you watched City Council the other night, we had a man stand up and say he was a refugee from Austin.
I consider myself that. Yeah, I've said that.
And it's the quality of life,
Yeah.
right? It's the open spaces, it's the trees, it's being able to breathe. Yes, traffic's difficult, but it's not as difficult as everywhere. And I think we're suburban enough, but
Right.
urban enough still. But still rural. We still have, I mean, you have to go just on the other side of Chestnut and 95 and get into the rural feel.
Yeah, you're surrounded by beautiful pine trees.
Yeah, I think it's just, we're a beautiful place to be. You
Right.
can still find shade and not be overheated. To your point about, man, if you're going to put a sidewalk, please put in
Yeah.
a tree.
Yeah. It's so important. We were talking a little bit with the development about some of the road development. So traffic's always a hot topic. So what's the plan? I guess, is that Blakey there? Okay, on 9 coming out onto 71 next to Lowe's. That one's always something.
So Ed
people talk,
Burleson,
yeah.
as
Ed
part
Burleson.
of the Burleson development, Ed Burleson will be widened, another
Okay.
lane, and then 71 frontage will have another dedicated turning lane. So
coming
it'll be
coming into
widened.
there. Okay, okay.
There'll be another lane added on 71 and another lane added at Burleson.
That should help a lot.
And then Wagon Wheel ends up connecting at the back too.
Wagon Wheel is going to be behind.
Wagon Wheel
Okay.
cuts through the settlement
Okay.
development right now.
Right,
the
right,
senior
right. Okay, I
settlement.
remember
Yeah,
that.
Wagon Wheel cuts through there, and then
Yeah. Very cool. Any other big transportation projects that we're working on?
Like I said, Vista Puente, which will give
Okay.
relief off of 969, and the people in the colony in Valverde will have an out that's not on 969,
Right.
onto 71. And then, of course, you can get off of 969 and go down Blakey and connect all the way to Old Austin without being on 71. And then to the south, we will put a master transportation amendment forward that matches the counties. So when the county goes for money, or we all go for money, we're not like trying to beat each other for the money, that we're all working
Right.
collaboratively. And then we are working on a ride share program.
Okay.
We're modeling after Pflugerville. I won't say Kyle. Kyle's where it started, but
Okay.
Kyle kind of got themselves in a little bit of hot water. Because you have to make things ADA accessible, right?
Right.
We're a public entity, and so there's a lot of little nuances that are working through there. So we're trying to work our way on, how that happens, because we know that there's a carts doesn't meet all of the needs,
Right.
and we know from the e-buses and the e-carts that our residents were using it mostly in the after hours to go
Right.
to and from work on the other side of 71. So how do we meet that need? Let it be a need that's met, and also a job booster with more Uber jobs
Sure.
to be able to be available. So we're working on that. We're also working on carts. So carts is going to go through an expansion program on their site here.
Okay.
They will add more e-charging stations, because folks feel like they can
Nice.
just go up and charge at carts and it be okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's not okay, folks.
Yeah.
And so an expansion of their sites, and we're going to try some proof of concept stuff, like what can better meet the needs of Bastrop residents
Okay.
in the hours that are,
I've been really impressed. I used the e-carts a little when it was here, once or twice, but the carts, like going into Austin, I've met a number of people who commute, and they say they wouldn't have been able to hold the job in Austin if they didn't have that.
Yeah.
So
if you plan it,
yeah.
the carts on demand, if you plan it, like
Yeah.
it works really well. It's, we have instant gratification desires,
Of
right?
course,
And
yeah.
so you want to call, and Uber's 2 minutes away and get them. You can't necessarily do that in Bastrop, because we are a very much vehicle-driven society.
Yeah, even just going to the airport, I don't use Uber because it's hard to get that. But I'm just the fact that we have some form of public transportation, I think is a great start. We talked about the county. One of the questions I want to ask is, what is the, I'll see interactions with people on Facebook, and people, where everyone loves to give their opinion, but they'll talk about, why don't we fix this problem? And so I guess to start out, and maybe we'll take a look at the map, but how big is Bastrop, the city itself, the ETJs, and then what's our relationship with the county, and how we interact with that, how you work together?
So we're only 9 square miles.
Okay, yeah. It's really small.
Yeah, we're really small.
Yeah.
And we have a 1 mile ETJ. And
Okay.
it's 1 mile extraterritorial jurisdiction. And it's 1 mile because of population.
Right.
The larger you get, the bigger your ETJ.
Okay,
Corpus Christi had a 5 mile ETJ.
gotcha.
We have development-wise and rule-wise. So the county is very restricted on what rules it can enforce.
Yeah.
And they're normally related to life, health, and safety. Like the county can regulate wells, septic
yeah.
systems. They can do a little bit of signage, I believe,
Okay.
lighting. But they don't permit buildings.
Right.
They don't,
There's no building inspection,
No,
right?
they
Okay.
don't have the power to do that.
Right.
Whereas
And
the
that's
city,
throughout Texas counties? Okay.
whereas the city does.
Right.
And so we have what's called a 1445 agreement, and that's the legislation number that was filed many moons ago. And it really came out of model subdivision rules that were passed in the 80s.
Okay.
And model subdivision rules really made us work together. The legislature said the rules can't be so hard that you can't get through either one of them and not end up with something at the end of it. So cities and counties, y'all better figure it out.
Right.
And it's tied to our ability to go get water development board money or any money. Like, y'all better figure it out and have an active 1445, or you're not able to get any money.
Right.
And so the county is in our development meetings. every single week. I wish we could be in theirs. I don't know that we've been invited yet, but maybe through this interview we'll get invited. Because it's very helpful. They regulate drainage also and traffic, especially off of the county roads.
Right.
So when we have things annexed into the city, they're not under county rules anymore. And so, and they try to annex into the city because they can get a higher density. So they stay out in the county because they can do well and septic, right?
Yeah, that was my question. I work with builders, and I see, sometimes they want to go county because they don't want to deal with the city, but you see so many that want to build in the city.
Because you can get a density.
And that's because they can connect to our
wastewater
infrastructure. Okay, gotcha.
Because the county does bar ditches for the main part, and so you can't cut a bar ditch every 35 or 40 feet because then you don't have, there's nothing that's going to be able to sustain that water flow.
Right.
And so that's why in the county you get half-acre lots, 1 acre lots, and for a developer who's trying to do 10, 20, 30 units an acre, the county rules just won't apply. The minimum lot sizes of a well and a septic system. So if you're on a public water supply, you can go down to half-acre lot with a septic. You can have some special exemptions and
like Tahitian because it was platted.
Yeah, you can have some special exemptions. But for the most part, that's the kind of the solid.
And then
rule.
if you have a well and septic, what's
then
the
it's a 1 acre.
A 1 acre. Okay. Yeah. So it's good to be in the city.
Yeah. So you can get a higher density, and then lowers, quote unquote, lowers the overall, per unit per acre cost. And I say that cautiously because some of the stuff that we have in the city, park mitigation, park enrichment, tree mitigation, I mean, all of those things are. And for Bastrop especially, being able to keep some of our rural character, trees, right?
Yeah.
Just trees.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too. We're a tree city.
Yes.
We're a bird city, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of important in our overall identity.
Absolutely.
And so when somebody comes in and says, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, it's like, no.
Yeah.
There are just some hoops you're going to have to jump through. We try to make it as painless as possible, like for the trees. You cut down a tree, you got to pay a fee, but you get that fee back in the replanting.
Right.
So, I'm not trying to be super difficult. The state law doesn't let us be difficult. And the same thing for parks. Like, well, you got to give us land, but you know what? If you can buy the swing sets a lot cheaper, and our parks director and our parks board says great, then, have at it. Our drainage rules are a little bit difficult to get through, obvious reasons. And so, we've got rules, but at the end of the day, if they can get 20 units an acre.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good density.
Yeah.
What would you say are the biggest challenges that Bastrop's facing right now? And I know, it's 2 years that you've been here now? I definitely have faced and I think overcome many of the challenges, but what would you say, maybe short-term and long-term, for a fast-growing city like this? What are our biggest challenges?
Well, I'm super proud that we've made some of the massive changes to the B3 code. Okay. I'm super proud of that. I'll say it. I'll get sued. I'll get crucified. I'll get whatever.
Yeah.
It really was a gentrification code.
Yeah.
And did everything.
I had a lot of insight into it, and I agree.
Did
100%.
everything but protect the city, and so we've put in minimum lot sizes. And my critics say, well, you're driving up cost of housing, and it's not affordable. We have other tools in the code that make things affordable. So one of the biggest things is affordability. And who gets to pay for that? And for a long time, we've said development should pay for itself. Okay, wonderful. Let's make it do that.
Yeah.
Let's not burden the internal town folk who, they've been accustomed to that.
Sure.
Quarter acre lot, half acre lot, next to them. So I think the assumption that Bastrop is generally protected, I think we've kind of blown that myth out of the water. So that was one of the big things to overcome in that. But the growth and how fast it's coming. The developers got wind that we had no minimum lot sizes. You heard the guy at Planning Commission last night. Go hear the snippet that said, "Oh yeah, we heard you had no minimum lot sizes," and so.
What was it changed to? What's minimum lot size now?
So in the P3, it's 1/3 of an acre.
Okay.
And in the P2, the more rural, Laura Lane, Hoffman, it's 1 acre.
Okay.
They have deed restrictions also, so
Sure.
it's just, we have a small pocket of P2 in the main part of town. But if a developer wants to come in and do something different, There's a tool for that.
Right.
Just don't force it down our throats is essentially what I was saying. Let the public have a gander at it. Let us have a say.
Right.
The wastewater is definitely a big one, and that's because things are so expensive to build.
Right.
We are looking at new technology for our new expanded plants. Council made a field trip. We're going to be moving fast down that path on monetizing a wastewater plant, right? The water that comes off of it is so clean it can be sold to Aqua, it can be purple pipe to irrigate gas, the golf, all of our parks things, and so, and it's better for the Colorado. And then the sludge that comes off of it can be dried and caked, and that's sold to
like Austin
fertilizer.
does.
Yeah. And so I can create a revenue stream that keeps the rates low and figures out a way to pay for it. And so just making sure that the money and the needs are balanced and the residents are not overburdened.
Right.
I mean, everything is just so expensive. And when I have the ability to go, that apartment complex is paying a lot less than the single family home when it's the same number of people living in it, and it's, and so the single family folks are bearing really the burden of the water wastewater.
Right.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so we did revamp some of the fees, and the affordability issue continues, right? That continues to be an issue. How do people afford to live here that need to work here? And I don't have a silver bullet for that.
What do you think over, like, as a general rule or general goal, how do we make things more affordable so people can afford to live here or buy here?
So we have to be smart about our choices.
Okay.
And that's number one, keep the tax rate low.
Right.
Anytime there's a property tax rate increase, that's a hit to the homeowner and that's a hit to the renter because that's getting passed on.
Was it council or the county that lowered it last year?
We've kept it steady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overall, it's
because it was 2.1 and now we're like 1.9. Am I correct in that?
It's 1.9.
Okay. I thought it was
1.85, something like that in the city. Overall.
Gotcha.
So I think the county lowered. We stayed the same. And that's the goal. Try not to hit anybody any further. And then be smart about, when we go borrow money and make sure that we stay on those projects so that they finish on time and on budget. So I'm not having to, one, sit on money that I'm paying interest on because then I have less to work with, right? And then two, the timing of my borrows should be in place of, paying and just staying on top of just overall good project management of the city. And then making it so that this is a good place to work for people so I don't have a lot of turnover.
Right.
And, Austin workers are having to go. It was hard to hire for a couple of years. Austin workers are having to go back in the office. I got a lot of people from Austin that are starting here. So yeah, our engineers from Austin.
I'm not surprised when I saw Austin and the state was going back full time. I was like, I bet there's a lot because I know a lot of people that work for the city in Austin. I was like, I bet a lot of them are going to come here.
So we hired away an engineer.
Great.
We've hired away a senior planner.
Yeah.
We'll probably hire away a permit clerk. So folks that had that live in our surroundings or in our immediate, and we get a lot of experts.
I know
here.
That's what's always amazing me about Bastrop is like the amount of talent that we have
we've
out
got
here.
a bunch of experts here. We have a gentleman that I'm trying to bring on to the EDC, and he wants to do it pro bono. He ran the Austin Innovation Center for a long time.
Oh, wow.
And so the people that we're trying to bring are they've already graduated from the Innovation Center. They've got funding. Now they're looking for the space to expand.
Right.
And so making sure that our EDC partnership is good.
Yeah.
And really just that, all the silos, breaking them down so that we're all talking and we're not all spending the same dollar.
Right.
Right? I'll give you an example. A special event that came in, and this is kind of how there's still some silos. Special event came in, it got money from Cultural Arts, it got money from EDC, it got money from Visit Bastrop, and it's the same pot, it's the same hot pot.
Right.
And so, if we talked, we probably could have done a better job of being more efficient with that money. It's taxpayer money.
Right.
Just continuing to break it down. The school, Doc Cowie has been such a great asset to the school, going and walking the buildings, meeting them on site to keep the project on time and on budget. Because if the school's got to raise the taxes, And
Right.
we raised tax that year, like the residents,
It's a big hit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
too big of a hit for anybody to continue to afford living here.
Right.
Like, and then the diversity of housing that, I mean, I know that people think I'm against tiny homes and small homes and this, that, and the other. And I'm not. I just, there's a place for it.
Right.
And it's not in a place where folks aren't, that's never been there and the infrastructure can't sustain it. Like that's
Sure.
not the place. But there are places all around the area that's okay. And if you want to live in an area that's 30 units an acre, hey,
Right.
go have at it, Judah. Because you know what you're getting into,
Right.
you know? But we do need to have townhomes, duplexes, tiny homes, cottage homes. I mean, there has to be a diversity somewhere where you're building it and the infrastructure can sustain it. And, you know, there's economic development tools that we can put in place to help do some of those things. Statistics show when you give a developer incentives on housing, like private housing finance corporations, it rarely makes its way down into.
Yeah, Austin does that a lot and doesn't seem to work out.
Yeah, and I'll just, so we've been talking a lot internally about housing corporations and private, they're called housing finance corporations,
Okay.
HFCs, or private finance corporations, public finance corporations, PFCs. Legislature revamped PFCs because they found, like in South Texas, they got 100% tax break.
Oh, okay.
So here, a $15 million project, that's about $650,000 tax break.
Right.
$650,000 divided by 12 divided by 350 units, kind of, you know, the break on the rent's $50.
Right.
Is,
Not really
is that
significant.
is that really significant when that 650 could have paid for 6 policemen?
Right.
Or 3 policemen and money towards parks, or, you know what I mean? Because it's general fund money. So just being able to identify and do the math really quickly on what's the cost benefit to everybody, not
Right.
just that one single developer.
Okay. You talked. This is something I'm always curious about, and I know it's a big part of development, especially in Bastrop. We're always worried about fire. Where are we at in terms of like where do you see the future of the city's police and fire? What type of growth are we looking at?
So the development that we have going in at 304, one of the exactions that we took was 1.5 acres for a substation.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Not that's the property acquisition won't be a
Okay.
cost to the taxpayers, and we're really moving toward a different model. We're really moving toward a model that like fits into the neighborhood. I'm not building a Taj Mahal. We don't have
Right.
it.
Right.
Right. For the firefighters, especially, it should just look like a house. You
Right.
sleep there, you
Yeah.
cook there, and
It's a fire
you know,
house,
y'all,
yeah.
yeah, and y'all leave to a fire. But really, I'm going to be looking at partnerships with the new ESD. Like if we
Okay.
can situate on the same property,
Very nice.
you know, again, just
Where are we at with that? What's the timeline for the?
I don't know.
okay.
We're not appointed to the board, so
Okay.
shame on me, not kept up. I'll have to ask.
I'm really excited about it.
Ask our
This
fire
was
chief.
something I kind of saw the need for, and I think a lot of people did, just a few years ago. And that was to me, that was a great example of like citizens saying, "Hey, we're going to get this done," getting together, doing the petition, and actually making it happen. So
What was
I'm looking forward
interesting to
that.
me,
Yeah.
and I'll never figure it out. This will be one of my on my deathbed. I'm still thinking about it. Was I didn't have an outcry of residents telling me about ambulance service. I
Okay.
really didn't. In my
Interesting.
2.5 years here, I have not had one resident say the ambulance took too long.
Yeah.
Like I just haven't had it. And I think because the fire department would triage, or
The city has
other
that
ESD
benefit,
fire
yeah.
departments would triage, and we kind of get there.
Yeah.
But I know it's been a plan in the works on how we deal with ambulance for a long time, and so it was very surprising to me to have this overwhelming response, this need,
Right.
but no real complaints to me anyway. Maybe they'd complain to the county or somewhere else. But
Interesting. Okay, because I would hear it from first responders actually, who were saying how much of a struggle it is and how they.
No,
aren't
I'm the
able
one
to
that gets the alerts on my
Yeah,
phone that
yeah.
say, 20-minute ETA, 30-minute ETA. And, I told my dad, who has a heart condition, I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't visit me for an extended period of time because I don't know that I can get you to the hospital fast enough.
And I've heard that from others. And I've seen that really affect. That was one thing I saw someone who was really wanted to buy here, and they ended up not because they were concerned. They had heard about it and were concerned.
Yeah.
Do we have any plans for a hospital expansion at this point?
Not a hospital expansion, but
Okay.
I'm working on getting a hospital here because
Okay.
honestly, we are transitioning from what I'm calling an adolescent city,
Right.
right? Where we almost have all the tools. I'm eligible to drive, but I don't have enough money for my own
Right.
car, kind of thing. One of the markers of moving into a more mature city is you have to have the fundamental transportation
Right.
and health
Yeah.
services available. And we do okay. Austin's not that far,
Yeah.
Baylor, Scott and White, and Elgin, not that far, but it's still far enough. We don't have pediatrics here.
Right.
We don't have a lot of specialty clinics
Maternity.
here.
Yeah.
That's got to be, if we're going to start transitioning into a more mature city.
Yeah.
And you see that happening with some of the exaction fees, some of the road. Like we're finally getting it that we can't do it all ourselves and that we're not, rural centric anymore.
Right.
But yeah, that.
What is the cutoff? Like, I know we're considered a rural county by the state, like things for like USDA loans. What's the cutoff where we won't be considered?
I don't know that
Do
for
you
our
know?
county
Okay.
population. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm
not
curious
sure.
because I know that change is coming.
It's got to be pretty high because
Yeah.
there are still some areas of Corpus Christi that you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think it might be by census tract.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's going to break it up a little
Yeah.
bit. All right, we were talking about jobs. So I have, I've been making lots of videos on Elon Inc. and SpaceX and all of that, and it's I have people from all over the world that are interested in this. I have reporters reaching out. I know they speak with you as well. But tell me what it's like, and of course, what you're able to share dealing with, or working with this, and if you can explain also kind of our relationship, because it's not directly in the city, but working with this massive entity that's, worldwide famous, is changing so many things in the world.
Yeah, it's
What's the impact been on Bastrop?
So one, we're on the lips of just about everybody.
Right.
And I'll tell you, our wastewater line expansion down 969 and 1209, our partnership with Corex and them made his growth possible.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And so recognizing that was going to just absolutely transform and how we plan for that in the future. And yes, he's in the county, and yes, he doesn't need city permits, and yes, he doesn't need any of those things. But those workers are going to need a place to live.
Right.
Whether that's the colony of Alberta Town Center. We have a lot of people in our midst who every day you can talk to somebody that says, I work at Tesla, I work at SpaceX, I work at, blank, blank, blank. And the commute from 1209, 79, 969 is not an easy commute.
No.
So I think more and more the folks located in our midst, everywhere from Smithville to Bastrop, anywhere in Bastrop County, is a plus. They come here, they shop here. Everybody complains about the HEB. You can feel it. It's palpable in the restaurants, everywhere else. Even our hotels, we're not advertising any more than we did last year. In fact, I'd argue we're advertising a little bit less because we've reduced the Visit Bastrop budget. Our hotels are still up.
Amazing.
They're not up by, double digits, but we do have 4 and 5 coming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming. The apartments wouldn't be building if there wasn't a demand.
Yeah.
The single family homes, I mean, D.R. Horton's putting up 15 homes a week.
Amazing. Yeah, I know, it's so quick.
A week.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to keep them in the city periphery so that I can inspect, I can make sure, I can't, this and that. But it's absolutely changing the landscape of Bastrop from a, I'm not even going to say a rural to an urban community, but even the voting mechanism, even the thought about participation, even the thought about how we communicate, everything that we're doing. We had a conversation about microchipping pets the other day.
Okay.
And this is where I'm telling you, the change is happening and it's here. Every time we pick up a stray animal and we take it to the county, it's a $250 plus charge. That animal gets microchipped at the county before it gets returned back to its owner, if they can find the owner.
Right.
We're trying to say, microchip your pet for $25. We'll even partner with Save an Angel and do it for free and save the trip to, our guy can scan it, save the trip save us $250. Everybody gets saved money, blank, 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 blank.
Yeah,
blank.
that'd be great.
The fact that we called for a community hearing, a community meeting about pet microchipping is a new phenomenon for Bastrop.
Right.
We wouldn't have been having these conversations 5 years ago. You know, in my prior community, it was like, what do you mean you're asking to microchip?
Right.
The doggone dog needs to be registered. It's very hard to enforce that in any city.
Sure.
I don't even care. Bastrop, where we have wider lots, open spaces, bigger pets have, 3, 4 dogs, several
Right.
cats, whatever. That's just too hard to enforce. But the fact that we said mandated, and boy, that blew up like.
Okay.
That blew up.
I could see that. I didn't even know that was on the
That's just
agenda,
kind of one
but
of
I could
the
totally see
examples
that.
of 5 years ago. We
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have been, we had conversations about chickens,
Sure.
but it was more, let us keep our urban.
Let's keep chickens
and
here,
suburban.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, the conversations are definitely changing.
Okay. What is the rule right now in the city regarding chickens?
I believe you can have 5, but no roosters.
Oh, really?
I believe.
Okay.
I believe. I'm not.
Gotcha.
Don't quote me on that because I'm not
Okay,
for sure.
I won't. Because I know that the discussion, that everyone's been having this discussion now with the
Yeah.
egg prices.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you're in a subdivision, that'll have its own deed,
Rules, yeah.
own deed restrictions. Okay. But as far as you know, chickens are still allowed? Okay. Okay.
I remember writing an urban chicken ordinance
Yeah.
in Corpus Christi. I believe it's 5 with no roosters.
Okay, because that's going to be a nuisance.
Because of the nuisance.
Gotcha.
I will have to double check that
Okay.
and get back with you.
Well, we can
Fact check.
come back to that. Yeah. Let's see. Well, I know we're coming up on time, and I really appreciate everything you do,
Yeah,
but especially the time that you've always been super generous with your time, and it's amazing. I know people love to sit with Sylvia.
Oh, yeah.
And when we have one coming up soon, right?
We have one at the end of this month. It's an AM edition, so
Okay.
it'll be at 7:30, and
Okay.
and it's in person and online too. People can chime
Awesome.
in via. I think Colin does he may do a Facebook Live. I'm not real sure how he does it, but I
Okay.
know there are people chiming in.
Awesome. Well, I guess the last question I'd like to leave you with is, I know we have election season coming up. What would you say, and I'm not going to get into anything controversial, but what would you say to people who are considering running or who want to be involved, join in on boards? I guess even more specifically, what advice would you give people who are considering that and maybe hesitant? You've worked with many elected officials and volunteers over the years. What advice would you give?
I would say if there's something that interests you,
Yeah.
come talk to us. I mean, if it's Main Street, if it's the parks, whatever it is that interests you. You have an issue with traffic. Maybe you want to be on our impact advisory. I think there's a place for everybody's skills, and those skills range. You don't have to be an engineer to sit on a board. You don't have to be a lawyer to sit on a board. You don't have to know anything about land development to sit on a board. You just have to have Bastrop's best intention in your heart. That's it. And you and I should be able to agree to disagree, and civil discourse is great. If you come with an open heart, really, and an open mind, there's a place for you. If you come to be disruptive, you're probably gonna face some, pushback from boards who really want to get a lot of work done. The Parks Board, for example, they have been super critical in moving things forward.
Yeah.
We've done a couple of land acquisitions where, we're trying to connect things, we're trying to keep open spaces. But even like the Construction Standards Board, who doesn't meet all the time, you have such a direct impact to somebody's life, right? Because the Construction Standards Board means the plan reviewer would have said no, the building official would have said no, but you get to go among your peers to give them your alternate mean and method.
Yeah.
You're affecting your neighbors' lives at any board that you sit on, and I think that is just too cool. When I leave office and I'm done with city management, you guys aren't rid of me. I'm going to be everywhere because
I love that.
Because I'm super nosy. There's all kinds of good stuff that we can still do that I can't advocate for now because of my position. But there is so much good to be done.
Yeah.
That I know we get wild, and I like to call election season silly season because
Sure.
everybody gets super crazy. I know silly season is upon us, and the negative Nancy's tend to come out more than normal. And I would say just take that with a grain of salt. There's way more good happening than the bad. And if you have any questions, just come ask me. I'm always happy sit down, open the book, sit down,
Yep.
open the law, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
No, the transparency has been amazing, and the connection with the community, I think, has really been a game changer. And I definitely recommend anyone who's interested to get involved to do it. It's a lot easier than
do it.
Yeah.
We are launching a new. You talk about transparency. We're launching something called OpenGov, which is a software. Other cities use it, and like you'll be able to drill down every month. What did Sylvia spend on tools, supplies? What did she spend on lunches? What any one of our departments, like the level of detail that you'll be able to see in the budget.
Yeah.
So much so that I'm asking my directors, like, be sure you code your accounts right, because I'm gonna go in and look at your account.
I'm
and
sure
go,
there'll be plenty of.
Why did you spend $50 on erasers?
Yeah.
And well, it wasn't erasers, ma'am. It was blank. Well, it says here erasers, and John Q. Public is thinking how stupid the city is because we spent $50 on erasers. So
that'll be a lot of fun to dig into.
Very, very super cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No,
Sylvia.
for sure.
This has been amazing.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.